First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood, which is a family-made media podcast. And we are just weeks away from the kickoff of the 2022 NFL season. Joining me on the podcast today is Super Bowl champion quarterback Brad Johnson. Now, Brad Johnson was the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won Super Bowl XXXVII, and that was way back when we didn't have anything like Instagram or TikTok. But Brad Johnson has found a home and has been crushing it on TikTok with his trick shots. If you haven't seen it, you got to get over there and check him out. He's at Big Bad Brad 14 over on TikTok. The link is in the description down below. Brad's got two sons now that are tearing it up playing football. But what is it like to have a father and have to live up to a guy that's won the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl championship quarterback as a dad? Well, we're going to get into that and so much more. So get down there, smack the subscribe button, and tap the like. We're going to jump into it right now with Brad Johnson on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father Brad Johnson. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me on your show, Alec. Thank you very much. Look forward to telling some stories and see where we go.
Well, let's start it like this. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Yeah, my wife and I, we've been married for 23 years. We have two boys, Max and Jake. Max is now 21, so he's legal. And Jake is 19. And they both go to school at Texas A&M. And so we live in Athens, Georgia. So we keep the road hot going back and forth. So two beautiful boys, and just fun to watch them grow up.
Yeah, very cool. I got three boys and a girl myself. My oldest is only 16, so I'm headed right where you are. So this is good for me as well. So just hit my listeners, if you could, Brad, for a minute about your background and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Brad Johnson. I went to school at Florida State University, played football there, and then played it in the NFL for 17 years for Minnesota, Washington, Tampa, and Dallas Cowboys, and won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now I live in Athens, Georgia, and have been coaching high school football and basketball and many youth and middle school teams and those kind of things.
Yeah, very cool, Brad. And take me back then 21 years ago to the beginning of your fatherhood journey. How old were you when you became a dad, and how did that experience change your perspective on life?
32 years old. And we were living in Tallahassee, Florida. And my wife, Nikki, it was wild, you know. I call it the one of the best days of my life. When Max was born, he was born April 20th, 2001. And, you talk about, you don't realize how much you love something until you go through that experience. And watching the birth of my son, Max, watching him take his first breath, watching his first teardrop, watching I'm crying, my wife's crying. It's an incredible experience to go through. And to hold a little precious baby like that is just it's a miracle. It's God-given. And just thankful for that opportunity to be a parent, and not alone grow with my wife, and then to raise this child. You're given this child to raise, and it's an unbelievable opportunity, and just very thankful for that to happen 21 years ago, and then not alone to grow him up every day now. But I look back at that day as one of the most, probably one of the best days of my life.
Yeah, very well said, Brad. And then did you have your second? I know just a few years later, you said in 2021 he was born. Just a few years later, you were holding the Lombardi Trophy, Super Bowl champion. Did you have both of them at that time? What was it like? I mean, what were the emotions for you? You just become a father, and now you're a Super Bowl champion quarterback. Walk me through that just for a minute.
Yeah, in 2003, playing the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we won the Super Bowl. Dream come true. After we won 48-21, confetti's falling on our face. The Queen's playing that song, "We're the Champions of the World," and I remember that. I'm doing a Disney commercial. I got a picture right here. I'm with John Gruden, my wife Nikki. Max is 2 years old, and Nikki is 7.5 months pregnant with our other son Jake. We're saying we're going to Disney World, and then the next day, we were at Disney riding on Captain Hook and Tilt-A-Whirl, and going down the parade and all those kind of things. So it was just very surreal that it happened. Jake wasn't born at that time, but we tell him he was there with us too. And it was just pretty cool.
Yeah, wow, very cool. All right, and then Brad, now fast forwarding here now, I know you got 2 in college. Your son made a transfer, I believe, right, from LSU over to Texas A&M. What was the thought process there, and what was it like, selecting what college is right for you and your kids?
Yeah, it's hard first when you go through the recruiting process in high school. And then you make a choice and you go through different things in life. And then Max was at LSU, started for about 12, 13 games, had a good little run there. And then just a lot of changes took place. And it's really probably too much deep to go here on this podcast of what really took place. But just Max, he had great friends there, had an opportunity to play and start, and things went well for him. But sometimes there's detours that take place, and you have to be bold about just certain decisions in your life. And so just felt like sometimes in life you have a lot of patience, but you don't have a lot of time to accomplish what you want to do. So it felt like it was the right move. We'd been to Max had been recruited by Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M when he was at Florida State. So we had a great relationship there. And our other son, Jake, was a top tight end in the country. And he was committed to LSU. He actually decommitted. And when they fired the coaching staff and all that kind of stuff, just a lot of things took place. So we just felt like it was the right move to make for both of their careers and where they wanted to go to school, be developed as players, be developed as people, and just be a part of that program.
Yeah, I would imagine it's got to be really cool for you to have both your kids playing football, following in your footsteps. But sometimes I know having a dad that's a Super Bowl champion quarterback could be a lot for them to kind of live up to. Have you made sure in your relationship with them growing up that they don't feel that pressure as if they have to exceed your status in the NFL, get to a Super Bowl? Have you kind of worked on that relationship as they were coming up?
Yeah, I think it's just natural. I think they see me as dad. And obviously they didn't see me play as a player. Obviously they've seen the trophy and different videos at different times if we talk about it, those kind of things. But I've coached them through all their youth baseball, basketball, and football, done homework with them, had every school and every birthday party you could ever imagine, and all those kind of things. But for us, we've always, wanted them to blaze their own trail, blaze their own path, have their own journey, have their own story. And both of them, they're even though they're brothers, we call them like Tom and Jerry because like the cartoon characters, they fight with each other. And I'm taller, I'm stronger, I'm better, I'm faster, whatever those topics are. But then they're also best friends. And it's a dream come true for them to play together, but they also know they're on different paths. They play, one's a tight end, one's a quarterback, and they have to earn their own right, whether it's as brothers or whether it's separate from me also. So as a parent sitting in the stands, I don't get to coach them anymore and say, throw it here and look out for the blitz. They have well-trained coaches and they've been well prepared their whole life. But this is their dream, their passion to accomplish what they want to achieve in life, and in this case, in sports.
Yeah, very cool. What about as far as discipline goes, Brad? What type of disciplinarian have you been as a father, and is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
Yeah, as a kid, when a kid puts his hand into the socket or puts it on the stove and it's hot, and so you teach them, we do this thing called, we just kind of flick them like that. I flick them. And they learn not to touch that outlet, learn not to touch that stove. And if they got in trouble, did something wrong, we put them in timeout, and taught them to take out the trash. Learn that you have responsibilities to be in charge of, and you are responsible at the end of the day for your actions, for what you do. And so it starts at an early age. And I'm thankful for my wife as much as me. It's a 50-50 partnership as far as talking to our kids, reading to our kids when they were young, disciplinarian, all those kind of things. So we were a partnership in that. And even to this day, so if our kids are doing something, we're in conversation, I don't like it, or whatever's taking place, if I go, they know something's up. So it's been trained. It's something over years and years and years that's been happening. But I'll be honest with you, we did this thing when our kids were like in 6th grade. And you talk about, that's kind of about when 6th, 7th grade, like when sex education kind of takes place. And we did something very unique. We went through a thing called Passport to Purity. And it's a it's not a DVD. It's not just something about sex education. It's a godly way to teach your kids about sex education. It's a series of little projects that you go through and you have a conversation. So I think when our kids were young, we had talks with our kids about that, about life. And so what that's done with us later at their age 21 and age 19 is it's opened us up to have real conversation about everything. Just be open, be able to communicate. And so I'm very thankful for that time we had when they were younger, which has carried on to this time now.
Yeah, very cool. And like I said, my oldest is 16, so we're getting ready for all those things now. They haven't even, I don't have a son that's driven a car yet, so I'm kind of bracing myself for a little bit of impact as we start to go through that process.
Yeah, good luck with it.
Well, one thing too, and the discipline part of that is important. One thing I focus on a lot here, Brad, on the show is the fatherless crisis that we have going on in our country. We got so many kids that are growing up without a father and without a father figure. In my opinion, I think it's the number one social issue we have facing our country. And I think if we could solve it, so many of the problems we're seeing would start to go away pretty quickly. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think there's a thing of being, you can be a dad, but can you be a father? It's not, it doesn't happen in every household. Hopefully you have, that saying of a lot of times more things are caught than taught. And I think when you have a father and a mother in a household together, it's a big deal. And that would inspire those to become, when they become married, and to stay hopefully married and not go through divorce, but divorce and those kind of things are real. But I think having a man in a boy's life is a big deal. Whether it's being a disciplinarian, whether it's being teaching things, or whether it's just being dad, whatever it may be. So you hit the nail on the head, and it's a big crisis in this world because you need role models, and you want that to come from your house, not just on your Instagram or your TV, those kind of things from those kind of people. It really needs to come from within the house, and hopefully that, because it just the generations to come, that's a big deal.
Yeah, very well said. And speaking of Instagram, I know you're hot there on TikTok. You got the Instagram account rolling. What do your kids think about you when you're putting out the TikToks, doing the videos? Are they into that? How did that start for you? How did you start putting up TikToks and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know anything about technology. Just trying to figure out hashtags and all that kind of stuff. So mine's amateur as far as all that goes. But and I just started with Twitter and Instagram about a year and a half ago, somewhere around there. So it's hilarious to me. But with TikTok, basically during the pandemic, that was one of our greatest times during the pandemic. I'll be honest with you, because we were together here as a family. No one was coming around. It was our family together at all times, whether we're watching TV, whether we're playing board games, Connect Four, or checkers, or whatever it may be, or working out, all those kind of things. It was our best time as a family. For 6 weeks, we were together. And so they were on TikToks a little bit. And then I couldn't dance videos, but I got on there and I started making TikToks myself. Of a lot early in that part was to make it of my playing career, workouts and those kind of things. And then I started making trick shots. I played college football and basketball. And so those are two things I'm good at. I'm not good at golf or some other things, but so I make a lot of these trick shots. It's usually a sequence of 3, 4, 5 kind of things. They take a lot of work. I tell people when they ask how long, it's a lifetime of practice. It takes what it takes. And sometimes it's first take, but a lot of times you'll see the sweat and on me going, but my kids, they laugh at it. They see it, but they've seen me do this stuff since they were 2 years old as far as making these crazy shots. So they just laugh, and their friends laugh with it, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned there too the pandemic, and I've heard that same recurring theme over and over again from so many dads as I was interviewing them through the pandemic, and then right after, just the fact that they loved obviously it was a bittersweet because so many negative things were happening, but families were brought together and they realized so much of what they were missing out on, and they were able to all be under one roof and reconnect in so many different ways. So there was a lot of silver linings throughout the pandemic as well. But I was just kind of curious there too, because I know they were both probably in that recruiting process or just starting college at the time. How did the pandemic kind of play into the fact with your kids getting in, selecting college, and that whole process? Did that look widely different because of the pandemic?
Max had actually at that time, he was at LSU. He was there for like 6 weeks, and then he came home. And in a weird way, it was kind of a benefit for him because he got to come home and really learn the playbook instead of just being thrown into the fire too fast. And then Jake was going through a recruiting process. He was a little bit behind. Like he still had another year or so before that got really serious with him. But it actually, to be honest with you, we have a gym at our house. It's probably the best shape that they've ever been because it's been the most consistent that they've ever been. And we ate well. We watched movies. We were together as a family. We were working out every day, throwing a bunch, running. It's probably the best time we ever had as a family. Probably the best shape that they've ever been in too. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. We made the most of it out of our household. And so hopefully that never happens again, but we're thankful for that time, that 6 weeks that we did have together just as a pure family.
Yeah, awesome, Brad. And I do ask a lot of the NFL dads that come on here, just because for a lot of parents, a lot of dads, it's something that they struggle with is whether or not to let their kids play tackle football with everything that's come out, false or not. What we know about CTE, we've seen some horrible things, some benefits on the long run. What is your take on it? What is your advice to the parent out there that's kind of on the fence about it? Should they let their kids play tackle football? And if so, what's a good place? What's a good age for them to start?
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you all the evidence behind things. But our kids started playing at age 8, okay, but they're taught. Sometimes at a young age they bump more than hit. They bump as far as hitting, and so I think coaching is a big part of it. Teaching them to see what you hit what you see, keep your head up, and those kind of things. Learn the right techniques the right way by good coaches and by good players. But I think, listen, you play soccer, you do gymnastics, you ride horses, you ride bikes, you get on skateboards. The injuries can happen a lot of different ways. And so our kids have been healthy. I've coached football for a long, long time. I really haven't seen too many concussions at an early age, 8, 9, 10 years old. As they got older in high school and middle, the contact becomes more. So I think that's where, I think you got to watch the kids a little bit more sometimes when the hits become more violent. So our kids started early and they were healthy along the way, but they were taught the right way also.
Yeah, well said. And are you still coaching right now, Brad? What are you doing right now? What are you up to, and what kind of projects or what kind of things you're working on? What can we expect from you in the future?
Yeah, I've been coaching. I coach youth football, baseball, basketball, middle school, all the stuff, all the high school stuff. Help a lot of quarterbacks on the side. I never charge any money. I just I love really working with individual kids, always one at a time, never 2, 3, 4 at a time, because I like to spend quality time and help develop a kid, no matter what talent he is. It could be a middle school kid, a high school kid, or a college kid, those kind of things. So I have a couple of charities I'm involved with, the Evelyn Foundation and Beyond All Borders up in Asheville, North Carolina, and I do a couple golf tournaments with them. So stay active, stay busy, and obviously make these trick shots on TikTok and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and are you still close to the NFL? Are you still paying attention to what's going on there? What's kind of your take on the way? I know a lot of the rules have changed. The game looks quite differently from the time where you were playing early on when you were winning the Super Bowl. Are you watching right now? Are you rooting anybody in? And what's your take on how the NFL is today?
Right. I just watch the game as a fan. I don't cheer for a certain team. I cheer for like tight, close situations and biting my nails at the end of the game, 2-minute situation, those kind of things. So the game has changed with the rules, and that's why you see a lot more of the higher numbers as far as yards and touchdowns and those kind of things, from the protection of the quarterback to the way they protect the receivers and those kind of things. So, and I do think quarterbacks and systems are better. So I love the game of football. Obviously, our 2 kids are playing in college football now, so a lot of our weekends are busy, kind of around either on some stadium or watching on TV, those kind of things. But I love it. It's a great game. I think football is awesome because it's the ultimate team game. So many people involved, so many different situations. Takes great coaches, takes great players.
Yeah, awesome. All right, last thing I want to hit you with here, Brad. I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
With my kids, I tried to every day, okay? I tried to pat them on the back, hold them, touch them. I love you. Something of positive with over 100 times a day. Touch, love, tap, congratulate, something positive. I would tell you to read to your kids, especially at an early age. And as they get older, let them deal with some adversity. Make them make their own sandwich. If they don't have their homework, you know what? Let them fail. Let them fail. And then they'll make up the grade. because if you start early with adversity, it's better to build young boys into men. And so we want men when they get older. Let them deal with adversity, love on them early. And the other thing I would tell you to do as a parent, start up an account, put all your pictures, all your videos of your kids in a certain file. That way, when they graduate from high school, you can have a book of pictures, a book of videos that you can hand to your kids as a gift.
Yeah, I love that. Love the advice. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Brad Johnson, you're a first-class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. Thank you.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. Please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood advice and wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it. God bless, and I'll catch you next time.